Welcome back to the BTS Happy Hour podcast. I'm your host, Andrea. With me as always is Morgan.
Hey, what's up?
On May 26th, the BTS Meal went live at all participating McDonald's around the world, and ARMY Everywhere visited their local restaurant to check it out. This article had an interesting fact that BTS usually gets paid between $2.69 million and $4.48 million for endorsements. But the fact that McDonald's is such a worldwide brand, they said that BTS is set to receive $8.98 million for doing this promotion. Initially, it was supposed to be a US-only promotion, but they decided to change their minds, I guess, because of how popular BTS is in all these other countries. So I think first they wanted to use BTS popularity in America, because McDonald's was an American brand. Then they figured, why not do this in Asia too, where there's even more BTS fans and then they're guaranteed to show up. So when this happened, there was a lot of pictures and videos of people with their BTS meals the day before, because I think in Asia they got it a day early because of the time difference, and Malaysia had it first. So I saw a lot of pictures of like cool stuff with the purple packaging and BTS theme, and like some stores were even decorated nicely for BTS, and it was like, oh, this is exciting. It's looking forward to seeing what our McDonald's does. And it was like really not the same experience in America. I don't know why, but it was just very like underwhelming. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, they just had the sauce packets, right?
That's all that was different for us, is the sauces were new, and well, you could see that they had it on the menu. So it was like, okay, it says BTS on the menu. That's different.
Was that all American stores or just us?
Some of them had the bags and other parts of the packaging, I think.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of McDonald's stores worldwide. Maybe the logistics are hard. I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't know how it factors in if they're franchise owned. Like, do they have an option to like not do it, or they only have so much budget for these like new fancy marketing things that are happening with the corporate McDonald's. I don't know if that has any impact on that, or if it's just like, oh, you guys got to do it.
Not every store did it. Not every store did it.
Yeah, that was the first issue. I was trying to find McDonald's that was actually doing it, and if you go on the app, you can figure that out, because just pretend to try to order at the closest McDonald's, and it says, nope, this store doesn't have that. And it took me like checking 5 different McDonald's before I found one that actually had it. So that was kind of disappointing, but at least it seemed to have succeeded overall. I think in the world, I'm sure McDonald's got a lot of new customers. Maybe not new customers, but like people who haven't been to McDonald's in a while, and they're just going to go for BTS's sake to support them.
It's not necessarily new customers. You just want to refresh your image in people's minds. You don't want to get stale.
Yeah, you want to build that relationship, because I think a lot of people, when they think of McDonald's, they think of times they went there in their childhood, and that memory is in their heads. And even BTS, that's their memory, is that they went to a McDonald's that was near their dorm, and then they have like good memories from that. What did you think of the sauces?
I think the sauces are good. They did taste more Asian. I think they did. And another thing that was, they were a lot spicier than anything you get at McDonald's.
Yeah.
Not to say that they were super spicy, but they were spicier than anything you get at McDonald's. And that's not a bad thing. I like spicy food.
Yeah, it's like pushing the envelope for a American McDonald's in terms of spice.
Right. Well, overseas McDonald's, of course, they have different menus, so they'll have spicier items.
Yeah, they've said that Korea already has these sauces.
Right.
So you could get them like any time with your nuggets. But the Cajun, that one, at first I thought it was kind of like Chick-fil-A sauce.
Right.
That honey barbecue.
There was nothing really Cajun about it, by the way. I don't know where they get that idea. Correct me, it didn't taste Cajun to me. Like
Cajun to me is like blackened fish, like when it's like super seasoned.
Yeah. I mean, I've been to New Orleans. I don't know. I've eaten a lot of food there. To be fair, that's not all Cajun food, obviously. But I don't think this was Cajun.
I don't think Cajun is...
It's just spicy, that's it.
...is usually creamy. Like that creamy doesn't go with Cajun. It's like a dry rub is what Cajun says to me. But I guess they just wanted a word for somewhat spicy. But I've heard other people say, and I think you said it was like a hot mustard flavor is in there for the Cajun. And then the sweet chili sauce. I mean, if you're Asian, you've had sweet chili sauce in other contexts, but it was pretty typical of that. Just like a sweet sauce. But so all we have that's kind of Asian at McDonald's is like the sweet and sour sauce.
Which I like, but I think if they can retain some of these spicier options, that'd be good.
Good point. I wonder if they perform well, will they keep some of those flavors in America?
Maybe.
They said that McDonald's only needed to use 30 to 40% of their usual budget to publicize this because a lot of it went word of mouth or people shared it on social media and stuff. I was like, wow, that's amazing. You like save money just because it involves BTS, and then the fans are spreading the word just among themselves, and then it exceeded expectations too. Like they said they sold even more BTS meals than they thought they would. So that's pretty much a win for McDonald's, even though I said earlier like they paid BTS more money than they normally get for endorsements. So I'm sure they think it's worth it though. And they also launched a bunch of merch that looked pretty cute with BTS and McDonald's logos. So I think they're maximizing the exposure there by having merch, which kind of expected that they would, because there's like merch for every single thing that involves BTS. Like anything they do, there's going to be merch. So that's probably a good idea. On May 27th, the Friends reunion aired on HBO Max. Many ARMY tuned in to watch as Friends fans and also as BTS fans. And in one segment of the special, the popular band declared that we love Friends, and RM opened up about why the show means so much to him. And he basically went through the whole spiel about how his mom bought the DVDs, and that's how he learned English, and the show taught him about life and true friendship. And it was a pretty short clip. I was expecting it to be a little longer. I mean, they said it would be short, but I didn't think it would be that short. It was like 14 seconds.
Right.
And it's like, wow, that's it? That's not a lot. I mean, I know the show is about Friends and not BTS watching Friends, but that seems super minimal for you to bother to include them. And I saw another clip where they talked about what their favorite episode was, and I guess it's a bonus clip, so I don't know if that is in the show or not, or it was just they posted it online somewhere. But they said that their favorite episode was the one where Rachel made the trifle and it had the beef and peas in the middle of the dessert. So that was a pretty funny episode. So at least they knew of some funny episodes. I don't know if I'd say that was my favorite one, but I'm trying to think
I'm still not really believing that they're all huge fans of it. That's okay. I don't know. Maybe RM watched it. That's interesting. He said he learned a lot about friendship. I don't think that it's really good representation of how friendships work, but okay. I mean, if you're in friend group, everybody sleeps with everyone else, maybe. And you're just like immature adults in New York City for like 10 years. I don't think that's really how friend groups work, but it's a TV show. Yeah, and I don't buy it. And it's unfortunate if you were a BTS fan, you watched it just for 14 seconds. I think you should realize by now that you shouldn't expect too much from these things. They're just going to mention BTS to draw you in. And if you're not already a Friends fan, then this is going to be a waste of time for you.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like it's worth the trouble for BTS. I'm almost angry that they wasted their time because, they had to put it on their schedule. It's like, okay, we'll be interviewed and talk about Friends, and then you're only going to air that much. Even if they use the extra clip, that's not very much footage. So
it might have just been an hour of their time, though. Realistically, look for those two clips. Yeah. I would say it took about an hour of their time.
And at least Ben Winston, who directed this, warned people that it would be pretty short. So he tried to prevent, social media disaster by warning ARMY that it wouldn't be that much. I don't know if they recorded anything else beyond what they published. I mean, I've probably edited down as well, but it's too bad it wasn't more. ARMY had figured out that this whole segment was filmed a year ago in June 2020 because of what their hair and clothes looked like at the time. So I was like, that is a really long time ago. I mean, I didn't know they were even going to do a Friends reunion a year ago. So,
well, when was the Friends reunion film then?
You think maybe they did the other parts later with the cast? I
can't imagine they filmed the main reunion a year ago. Why would they need a year to put it together?
Yeah. I wouldn't think, because I think all you have to do is make sure those 6 people are all available on the same date. I don't know how busy they are, but probably their part was more recent.
I would hope so.
Or maybe they filmed it all a year ago and it was just on hold because of the pandemic. I mean, I don't
Why?
know. You might as well release it though.
It's
just
HBO Max. There's no reason for that.
Yeah.
No, they shouldn't do that. And plus, every single moment you wait to release your thing, there's like a chance that Matthew Perry will die.
Oh,
And that will be a bad look.
that would be pretty tragic.
You can't release this thing after he can't. For those of you who don't watch Friends, he's the guy who looked really terrible because he has drug problems.
Yeah. And they tried to say, well, he was slurring his words and stuff because he had dental surgery
No.
right before that or
He
something.
has drug problems.
He has
He's
issues.
had them for like 30 years.
Yeah. And I don't know what's so bad that he's like so addicted to whatever.
There's multiple
but
things. Not going into it, but there's multiple things.
yeah, that's Hollywood. And another interesting note is that according to Variety, BTS segment was edited out of the Friends reunion as it aired on Chinese streaming platforms. So China decided, you guys don't need to watch the parts with BTS or the parts that have Lady Gaga or Justin Bieber or any LGBT scenes that were on that reunion.
Mm-hmm.
So Chinese Friends fans, I'm sorry, but you got less footage there. People think that the BTS part was removed because of them getting the Van Fleet Award, and then from that time where RM thanked Korean soldiers who sacrificed their lives during the Korean War. And I was like, I can't believe they remember that BTS got that award and said that. It was like a very minor thing that happened, it seemed like.
Well, they did stuff at that time too, didn't they?
Yeah, they had people criticize BTS.
So they'll remember.
But it's like, wow, you guys went through all that trouble. I guess if you're China, that's how you react to things. It's like
China doesn't forget anything.
you censor.
Once they've once they've noted it, then they don't forget.
Yeah, once you're on their list of like bad people that have criticized China in some way, you get cut out of anything that airs. And it sounds like Lady Gaga's portion was cut out because she met with the Dalai Lama, and so the Tibet thing is related to China. Do they think that's their land too? Is that the issue with that?
It is. No, it is. No, nobody really even disputes that. It's just the way they treat that area.
Oh, okay. It's not really in dispute. It's just that the Dalai Lama they don't want you.
Well, he's in exile. He's in exile because when they took it over, they said, you no longer rule this area.
Oh, right.
And he had to. Yeah, he's not been back there. That's the situation.
That's why he's always in different countries.
Right. That's why he lives in, I don't know, France or something.
Oh, okay.
There's no dispute. They don't govern themselves. China governs it.
Right.
And there's no country that disputes this. Every now and then, American celebrities like Lady Gaga, I don't know if they even dispute it, but they'll meet with the Dalai Lama, right? But even that act in itself is too much for the Chinese.
Yeah, you can't give approval to him.
They're pretty lazy, though. I mean, why did they air the Friends thing in China at all? Because I was just thinking, there's no way that all the Friends casts are clean in China's eyes. They must have done something that would be bannable, right?
Right.
That's 6 people from America. Surely they have done something offensive in the eyes of Chinese censors, right?
Right, like made statements supporting
Right. It
Hong
took me
Kong
6 seconds just to Google their names in Taiwan, and I came up with, in 2021, Jennifer Aniston praises Taiwan president as example of empowered women. So she did this on Twitter. Why is she not banned? Therefore, the whole show. Why is the whole show not banned? Are their censors so lazy they don't do 6 seconds of Googling? I don't get it.
That's true. They should keep up with.
She praised her as an empowered woman or something.
If you're going to censor stuff, do it right.
And she, pretty sure she called her the president of Taiwan.
Well,
You can't be a president of what? Principality? What is it? What do the Chinese consider it? You can only be president of a country, right? So if you call somebody the president of something, you're implying that that's a country.
Oh, wow. So she's lucky that went under the radar.
I guess. I don't know. Would it affect her?
Maybe she doesn't
China
care.
banned the show? Yeah. She doesn't even put out movies anymore that play in China, so I don't think it really affects Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah, I think she got her paycheck for doing the Friends reunion, like whatever millions of dollars each of them got for doing it.
2.2, 2.5 is what I heard.
Wow.
That's not even anything. You think that's a lot of money? Not a lot of money for them. Every one of the Friends cast, they still get $20 million a year in residuals. I don't know if you know that.
Well, I knew they got some. I don't know how much or if it varies.
$20 million is what they got paid. In fairness, it was more money back in 1994. But that's what they got paid when they first did the show. And now they get paid that every year just from, syndication, from it airing on Netflix and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
That show makes a lot of money. Think about how many people watch it on streaming still. So is it a lot of money to her? And can China affect her well-being? No.
Well,
absolutely not.
When John Cena called Taiwan a country, he had to apologize immediately.
But that's because his movie is coming out in China.
Oh yeah, it's not out yet.
Yeah. And it's like Fast Furious 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are depending on that. It's one of the big budget, mindless things with explosions. That's a very popular film, not in just China, but worldwide, right? Because it's, action transcends language. So action films are popular worldwide. I think China is officially the largest movie market in the world now. You cannot run the risk of the largest movie market banning your film.
Yeah, he had to do damage control.
Especially a film that depends on that sort of box office. If it was an independent film or something, maybe you don't care.
Yeah, maybe
but he has to care.
You're like, oh, I'll just release it everywhere else, whatever.
You think it was his choice? No way. He was told to do that.
Right.
He was 100% told to do that. And he was right to do it because that's what you sign on for. If you're going to sign on, who does Fast and Furious? Is that a Disney product? I don't know. Probably. Is it? It's a large movie studio anyway. Of course they told him.
Well, it's a good thing he speaks Mandarin already.
Right. I don't know why that is, but whatever. He probably knew this moment was coming.
Yeah. It's like, I'm going to have to speak at some point and explain myself. And then Justin Bieber's part in the Friends. I didn't even know he was in the Friends reunion, but I guess his part was cut too because he visited a Tokyo shrine which commemorates Japanese soldiers in World War II. And he visited in 2014. It's like, wow, China, you're really keeping track of when people visited shrines and stuff. So at least their fellow company artist, Justin Bieber and BTS, both cut out of the Friends reunion. On May 27th, Big Hit Music casually dropped an announcement on Weverse. In appreciation to ARMY for the love and support for Butter, they decided to provide fans with a remix version of Butter called the Hotter Remix. And they said this will exude a feel that's delightfully different from the original song's bright and lively mood. And they released it on the 28th, May 28th, and then everybody was really surprised because they weren't expecting another version or a remix right away. I mean, I thought there would be remixes. I didn't know when. But with Dynamite, they waited a month before they had some remixes. That's what I remember. But this was only a week after the original. So that's pretty interesting choice there. And the hotter version, it was similar to Dynamite, how with the remixes they just added like a different beat in the back, and that was basically the only thing that's different. So the hotter remix it had more of like an R&B kind of beat, like 90s, I would say. And it had like some different instruments in the background, like some saxophone and horns, I think is what I heard. So that was a new mix that's out there, so that gives people something else to stream along with Butter if they have one of those playlists where you have to like alternate songs. And when they announced it was a hotter remix, of course people think, oh, hotter, that means it's going to be like a sexy concept. And then when it came out, it was really more of a comedic tone if you look at the video, because the video just had a lot of outtakes and a lot of them acting funny and singing in a exaggerated way. So it was a lot of ad-lib behavior in the video, so it's pretty funny. And I'm sure that BTS is like laughing at ARMY and at their expectations for what it was going to be, because they totally built it up into something else. They could have called it remix number 1. It didn't have to be called hotter. Like, what was hotter about it? Like, that has a certain definition.
There's a little translation issue. Maybe hotter doesn't mean that to them.
Maybe hotter just means different.
Yeah, I don't know. You have to rely on your fan fiction or whatever. Then there's not gonna be a hotter version. Yeah,
I think they just used some of their lyrics to differentiate, because I think they're probably gonna have a sweeter remix and a cooler remix, and then they just kind of named it different things. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's like sweeter or cooler or whatever. It's just we're assigning that the this version. But there were some pretty funny moments in the MV. It took place on that set that had like the pink and orange in the background, and it would be like one person's in front singing, and then everybody else would be behind them out of focus, like doing like just random dancing or just funny things, and then they would switch outfits with each other. So it was more of a loose concept, and everybody had to try on J-Hope's pointy shoulder jacket. They were very interested in that. That's the one that you said was like extreme extreme shoulders. And yeah, everybody liked the video. So there was a funny part where they're singing and they're all standing in a row and like singing angrily. Like I didn't even understand what the reason for that was, but it was pretty funny. And as well, they've released a choreography version and another performance video. So there's like tons of Butter performances out right now. So BTS had a V-Live comeback show to celebrate the release of Butter with ARMY. At the start of the live stream, each member gave their greetings and shared their thoughts on Butter. And so then they started watching the video and they made their comments, and the members were praising Jungkook's visuals. J-Hope had said, "Jungkook, you don't have any fat on your cheeks." And so then that's when he responded, "I only drank water for 5 days." And fans were kind of divided on that part of it. They said, "Oh, it's good that you're working hard for this video, but take care of yourself." And then some people thought, "You don't need to starve and it's not good for your health." There was a lot of comments about it. One Reddit post about it was called "Starving yourself for perfection should not be glorified." And then that post was deleted, but that's basically the gist of it. They criticized that Jungkook said that, and then they were kind of like worried about his health and stuff. Maybe people are kind of overreacting to what happened, because I just saw it as he was making sure he was prepared to look good for this video, which is going to be seen by hundreds of millions of people. It's permanent. It's going to be online. He wanted to make sure he looked his best, so he did what he had to do and diet for those 5 days.
I mean, these same people like the way he looks, though, right?
Yeah, like
don't they like it? I think it's probably hypocritical.
Mm-hmm.
Would they like him the same if he weighed 200 pounds?
I wouldn't think so.
They might say yes, but if I were like God, I would make him 200 pounds right now and force them to still watch BTS. I think they wouldn't, right?
Yeah.
These people who are upset with this are probably the same people who think it's awesome when, so they don't want to glorify the dieting. By the way, this is normal. This is totally normal. When like bodybuilders and models have a shoot or something,
mm-hmm.
they often cut right before. Does that mean that the bodies that you see are not realistic? Yeah, but you're an adult, and not even you're not an adult. You live in the 21st century. This is 2021. You should know that these things happen to your media. So if they're not realistic, you should already know that and process that before you see the images. That's on you, I think. That's your responsibility. Just like when I know that not everybody does it, but if you see somebody post something on social media like such and such happened, this politician said this or something like that, like you should probably take that with a grain of salt. You know that, right?
Right.
Does everyone do that? Unfortunately, no. But whose responsibility is that? How many times do you need to be told that the stuff you see on social media might not be true for you to start taking it with a grain of salt? How many times do you need to be told that the images you see of people, it involves a lot of things from Photoshop to special diets and trainers and things like that and drugs,
mm-hmm.
right? All of those things are in effect. You should understand that. Personally, I think it should be commended because it's hard to get into that sort of shape. Have you ever had to cut weight? I've had to cut weight. Have you ever had to cut weight fast to look a certain way? It's very, very difficult. And so just on the merit of it being difficult, I think he should be praised,
mm-hmm.
right? I mean, would these same people probably praise people like Lizzo for just, oh, I'm looking how I look. Like, so do you think that should be glorified? By the same logic, it's not healthy. Neither is probably healthy, even though I'd argue with you that Jungkook is, whatever he's doing is much healthier.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe me, we could have Lizzo and Jungkook go to a doctor right now. Go to 5 and have them give us an unbiased opinion about which person is healthier.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to put good money on what I believe would be the case. It's not about health. First of all, I don't think it's a ton of people who have this opinion of him. It's mostly international fans. I don't think people in Korea think it's bad that he diets at all. Here's what I think is really going on. The people who are upset don't like people in media presenting this idea that this is an attainable thing, that this should be a standard, like this should be a standard of how to look, right? Why? Because they feel attacked. They feel like they themselves cannot achieve it. They themselves don't have the willpower to do these things, to get bodies like that. Therefore, it feels like an attack. Like, well, it's a moral failing on your part that you can't look like this. And it's not. It's not an attack on you. He's doing it for his career because and he feels it's necessary. Not every member of BTS does the same thing, right?
No.
I mean, they're all in relatively good shape, but they're not all in the same shape that he's in. So that's a choice on his part. And I don't think when he made that decision, he thought, man, I really hope to make some fat person in America feel self-conscious about their own bodies and make them feel like it's a moral failing on their part. They don't do the things that I'm doing to achieve this physical form. No, his thinking is, I want to look like this for this video because I'm comfortable with that. That's how I want to look. That's how I want to perform at my job.
Right. I think he took it as his own personal challenge. Like, this is what I want to look like for this video, which everybody's going to see, and it's very permanent online. So I want to look my best. And he just kind of said it matter-of-factly. This is what I did. He never said, wow, that really sucked and I suffered. And he didn't look upset about it. It's just like part of the job.
Right.
And he never was like promoting it like, hey, Army, do this if you need to lose weight. He's just like, that was his own thing, his own decision. And when the video was done, he went back to his normal diet because you could see in the comeback video, he looked like how he normally looks. He looked a little bit more weight on him. So it was like, obviously it was a temporary thing. It was just for that special event. It wasn't like he has a problem and it's like, oh my God, now he has an eating disorder. It's like, that's not what happened.
He can do what he wants. Isn't that body autonomy? He has a body autonomy to starve himself for 5 days so he can get lean. And he has body autonomy to not do it. And he's exercising his choice.
I think people forget that idol is a very visual job. It's really the same thing as athletes and movie stars and models and singers. And it's like all of these careers have people that have had to lose weight or had to get a certain body. It's like, do you think Chris Hemsworth or Henry Cavill, like they haven't done it some kind of extreme diet before a movie where they had to look really ripped? Or even Beyonce, she did a master cleanse before Dreamgirls. And athletes too, it's like boxers have to be a certain weight, so they do some of them do unhealthy things to get there, but it's like they do it because, you know, at the end of the day, that's your job. And it's like you gotta push yourself sometimes. But like regular people do that too. Like if you're about to go on a vacation and it's like, oh, I got to be in swimsuit shape. I mean, that's pretty normal that people go on a diet and try to look their best when there's going to be a lot of pictures taken or, you know, you're going to be on people's social media and you don't want to look bad. So, I mean, I don't think he's doing anything different than anyone else. But yeah, they're saying, wow, that's part of diet culture now. Like that's a phrase that people are saying now, diet culture. Because, I think I saw that when Demi Lovato was criticizing that frozen yogurt shop for no reason. That's someone's promoting diet culture when they promote reduced calories.
Yeah, people feel personally attacked when it's just not about them. I guess it just dovetails with this overall culture where everything's about you. You know, it's not. Somebody wanted to diet for his own sake and his own motivations.
Some of those people were speaking like Jungkook is a victim, and I'm sure nobody said he has to do this. I don't even know if he did anything unhealthy because a lot of times intermittent fasting, if you look at the data, it is kind of healthy to do it. Like the way to train your body to not have calories for a certain amount of time.
People can go without food for a while. We
still have caveman biology in us, so there's fat stored on your bodies that you can use, and no one needs to eat 3 meals a day every day.
The fat is there for a reason, and modern people have a lot of it, right? It's a reserve.
Yeah.
What does a reserve mean to you? Must be preserved at all costs? No. It means it should be dipped into sometimes.
Yeah, and it'd be perfectly fine if that happened. He said 5 days. He's not going to like collapse after 5 days of being on a low-calorie diet or whatever it was, of just water. I don't know if that was like exactly what happened, but he's fine now. Like you can see he gained some weight back and there was no harm really. So with Butter on the charts, there's a lot of talk about streaming and chart activity, and there was one Reddit post that was criticizing ARMY because they're trashing Olivia Rodrigo. as you know, she has an album that just came out that's really popular in the US. And I guess a lot of ARMY is on Twitter trying to discredit how well she's doing on the charts. She's being accused of being an industry plant. And so this person was criticizing ARMY for criticizing her. So they're saying like, okay, ARMY, you guys are being bullies, and why do you always have to argue with people? And, you know, it's possible other people are popular besides BTS. You know, that could happen. So are you familiar with Olivia Rodrigo?
No, I never really heard of her.
As far as I know, she had a surprise hit song, Driver's License, back in January. She's a singer and actress, and she's on the Disney show High School Musical, the series. And this show is about high school kids who perform High School Musical at their own school, and teen drama type of stuff happens. Mm-hmm. So she had like one hit in January and was like really popular. And I guess now her album just came out, which I don't know if that was a good idea to release that close to when BTS is releasing something, but I don't know. Maybe that was decided a while back. I don't know. But her music it's like pop music. Like she's sort of like younger Taylor Swift crossed with like Avril Lavigne. Like she has sort of a rock vibe on some of her songs. I did think this could have merit because I did hear a blind item a while ago about her from NT Lawyer, and what it said was, and this was back in January, this is before anything between her and BTS was taking place. So back in January, he said in this blind item, when you do the payola thing and the bot army to lift a song to the top of the charts, you try to be as subtle as possible and try to make it look realistic, that it could have possibly happened organically. There is no way someone who is on a not very highly rated show and never had a single release before and had half their social media followers bought through a company is going to break a single day download record for a song. And he said that basically Disney had a miscommunication with the company that rigged her numbers, and they like did too much, and that's why Driver's License was like so popular. Mm-hmm. I remember at the time I was like, why does everybody love the song so much? I don't get it, because I heard it and I was like, okay, well, it's all right. It's not like amazing or anything. But yeah, it seemed to go to the top like extremely fast for someone who doesn't have any established career. And if that happens, if there's a one-hit wonder, I could see that happening if the song is super catchy. But since it wasn't, it was more like a ballad. It didn't make sense to me, but I was like, okay, whatever. Maybe I'm just like out of touch or whatever with music. So I don't have to love everything that's popular. But it did make me think like, yeah, that could be a payola situation there, because it's just kind of all of a sudden popular, and she's not really like a name that's out there. And it's very hard to get that popular without a lot of backup help. So I don't know if that means more shady things are happening with her album coming out, if they're pushing it up in the charts artificially. I don't think there's really a way to tell for sure what's going on there. But yeah, I don't really believe she's as successful as...
So you believe the conspiracy? Just come out and say it.
I think is using some payola.
Even now?
Yeah.
Is there evidence?
I think there's some people that have looked into it, and that it's more on the BTS side where they think that some of their stuff is being invalidated. You know how YouTube doesn't count if you're playing things over and over.
Okay, so I didn't look too deeply into it. I saw a lot of stuff. Okay, YouTube is not counting our streams. Spotify is not counting our streams.
Right.
And there's a blind item from January that said her company is Disney, obviously, yes, paid for something, and there was a glitch and they paid for too much. Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. First of all, why would Disney have power over what Spotify and YouTube do? YouTube is owned by Google, and Google owes nothing to Disney. It's a larger company. They wouldn't do them a favor. And I seriously don't think Disney would say, hey, Google, could you suppress BTS so this artist can be number one instead? And then Google will probably just say, no, we're not going to do that. Why don't you, pump your own artists somehow? Mm-hmm. Why should we suppress anybody? Have you ever streamed, or you know how these things work? You know what's going on. Probably what's going on is they don't count your streams just, okay, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3. They try to count it in ways that filter out non-organic views, right? If they feel somebody's trying to rig the system somehow, They have different algos to weed that out.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, the way K-pop stands stream things, it often reads as non-organic.
It looks like bot behavior.
So that could totally be happening. And especially when you think about it's happening with Spotify and YouTube, why would those two totally different companies that owe nothing to Disney be doing this? How does it benefit Spotify to bump BTS down? Tell me how that makes them money, and then I'll believe you. But unless you can tell me how an entity makes money out of a thing, then I won't believe you, because the number one motivation for anybody to do anything in this world, you can't document. Mm-hmm. And there's no evidence. There's no one has even presented a theoretical motive of how Google and Spotify would profit, and therefore it's a non-starter. Any conspiracy where you cannot even theoretically explain to me why somebody benefits, it's a non-starter. If your only theory is that they have something against you or the people you like, no, I'm sorry. That's not a real motivation that exists in this world. People are selfish. They want to profit or benefit themselves. Now, as far as whether Disney used payola in January, totally believe that could happen. Because as we know in this industry, you can pay people to do certain things. Not everything is legit, right? Awards are not legit. If awards are not legit, you think every single chart ranking is legit? No, not likely.
Right.
Right? Radio play is not legit. So why would this be legitimate? Are they doing it now? Perhaps. Perhaps they paid so much to have her, they're probably thinking, oh, this is going to be the next Ariana Grande. I've never even heard her, but I bet you anything I could look her up right now, and that's that's what she looked like. I'm gonna look her up right now. That's most likely what it is. So
they need like a young teen singer who's big. They need another Miley Cyrus or Ariana
and
Grande.
She's not their artist, right? So They need their own.
Yeah, they need their own person.
And
Disney doesn't have a big artist right now.
Yeah, okay. She looks exactly pretty much the same. Okay. I totally believe that they could be pumping her up. They could be paying people off. Charts could be manipulated. That's possible. Now, here's the bigger issue, though. The problem isn't that they're doing this. The problem is that you haven't, if you're upset about it, the problem is you haven't just come to grips with that reality yet. I'll give you an analogy. For much of my life, I was a big football fan. I was a huge football fan. I watch it every weekend. I play fantasy football, right? I live and die for the results of a football game. And then what happened in around 2010, I discovered that the NFL just was okay with covering up massive cheating by one team. And in case you're wondering, that's the New England Patriots, if you know anything about football. And if you're a Patriots fan, I don't care. Your team cheats, okay? Go ahead and look into it. They cheat. And they've done it multiple times. And the worst thing is the league covered up most of it, right? They punished them later on for some other minor infraction because the other NFL owners got so pissed off. But they really just tried to cover up their most heinous acts of cheating.
They mostly got away with it.
Yes. And so at first I was very upset. I was thinking, this is a fraud. This whole sport is a fraud. How do I even know what's legitimate and what's not? That's a natural reaction. I've invested so much time and emotion into this thing. But after a while, I realized I can't control it. I can't punish them. I mean, there were U.S. senators who tried to expose this stuff and it went nowhere. So what can I do, right? I can't do anything. The only thing that was in my power was to just stop caring about football results because I knew it's not as legitimate. I'm not saying it's totally fixed or anything like that. But if I don't trust it and I feel like it's not deserving of my investment, then the only thing I can do is not give that. I can just not be invested, right?
Yeah. Don't give it any respect. Like if someone gets number one.
I don't, when one football team wins versus another one, I think, oh, that's interesting. But I don't care so much.
Right.
I'm not invested in it. I don't have an emotional reaction. So if you know that the music industry is like this, you should not have an emotional reaction. You should not be emotionally invested in just where people chart or who wins Grammys or who wins any kind of award, right? Because that stuff is not legitimate. There's other stuff going on that affects what the results are and that you may not necessarily agree with. The only thing you can control, you can't control those things. Let's say you uncover a massive three-pronged conspiracy with Disney, YouTube, and Spotify to do all sorts of things just to, I don't know, depress BTS for whatever weird reason, right? To elevate some no-name woman. Okay, then what do you think is going to happen? Will it change? Will Congress write a law for you?
No, they probably won't.
Will like executives go to jail? Will they even stop doing what they're doing? No to all of these things, right? The only recourse you have is to just not care. Just enjoy your music. You know that BTS is popular. I mean, maybe they're not number one and you think, oh, they probably are really number one. Then just think that in your mind. Who cares? Who cares if there's a chart somewhere that says they're actually number two? You can just go ahead and believe that they're actually number one. But hey, they may be. Maybe there's just Disney paid off a bunch of things and that's why this Rodrigo girl is number one. Possible. Mm-hmm. No evidence of it, but it's possible. In your head canon, you can go ahead and think that, and you can be happy. See, you can be happy. And when I changed the way I viewed things, I was a lot happier. I didn't care so much that, oh wow, this cheating team is winning. And then when that cheating team won even more, it would have upset me quite a bit at a certain point in time. But at a later point in time, after I changed the way I viewed things, it didn't upset me at all. I know that cheaters win and cheating is covered up, so I still watch football sometimes, just like, okay, this is enjoyable to watch, but I don't get emotionally involved in it. If you're getting emotionally involved in who's charting over BTS, I think that the problem is on your side. You should just stop. You should just yeah, it's rigged. Maybe it's rigged.
Yeah, I think we're never gonna get any satisfaction because YouTube and Spotify, they don't have to reveal anything. They don't have to be transparent about how they calculate things. They don't have to say, here's our formula and here's exactly how, these artists did and here's how many streams we invalidated because of our process. So we're never going to get a satisfying answer out of that because they're private companies. They don't have to reveal their methods or anything. So you're right about it's all in how you look at it. And you could just think of BTS is going to win in the long run. They're going to make more money, honestly. Like when they go back on tour and, people spend their money on BTS, like that can't be manipulated. If you gave them money, they got money. And that's how they will succeed. And that's what you have to look at and how you're benefiting the group. So, yeah, I would say to people to don't be stressed about it. I mean, you can post facts and stuff as you find them out, but you don't have to be too invested in the system that may not be completely honest. Some ARMY were even tweeting to the executive VP of Columbia Records about this whole issue. He's probably like, oh my God, people are going nuts. And he said a company is having high-level conversations about the streaming issue and what's happening with that. So.
Oh, yeah, probably new for him. He's never had this. You have to just understand that your K-pop streaming, it looks inorganic. Algos will probably pick up on that as bots or something,
Yeah.
Let's also be honest. A lot of you are using bots. Can we say that? Can we just admit that there are some people using bots out there?
I'm sure there's some very passionate fans who are using less than.
And if you don't think that's true,
means.
Ask yourself: would you bet your life that none of your fellow ARMY are using bots? No, you wouldn't. Which means you think that they probably are, right? And so maybe they're picking up on that behavior, and maybe your regular streaming gets sort of bundled into this illegitimate bot behavior, right?
Right, because it's all with an algorithm. So if you resemble that bot too much with your activity.
Right. And if your argument is that they should put more human resources so it's not all algos picking it up. There's so much data, though. You almost have to let the algos pick it up, right?
Yeah.
And also, there's no rule that they have to devote more human resources to this thing. I mean, actually, I was going to say who cares because it doesn't really matter who charts or whatever. But actually, it is important because it determines how much money artists get. Yeah,
that's another angle, too, is that people are saying, well, BTS is being robbed of money that they have made.
If the algos are wrong and they're labeling stuff inorganic when it's organic, then okay. And it's okay. And it's certainly fair for Columbia to look into it because they have to watch out for their client's bottom line. But I seriously doubt that anyone's suppressing their numbers just so that they're number two. And here's the other ugly truth about it. You barely get any money from Spotify. They're also not suppressing it so they don't have to pay out because you don't make much anyway.
Oh, that's true. That's what people have said, that artists don't make much from
You don't make much
Spotify.
From that anyway. I bet you anything, even BTS is not that concerned about it because the overall money you get from your Spotify views, it's not going to be worth much money to them.
Not as much as album sales.
Album sales, concerts, whatever,
Yeah.
So that's small potatoes. No one's trying to rip them off. It's just there might be some confusion with the interpretation of the streaming behavior.
Yeah. Thank you to our guest, Morgan. You can find BTS Happy Hour on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other podcast platforms. New episodes weekly. If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. Follow BTS Happy Hour on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can also go to the website at btshappyhour.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for additional content. Until next time, this has been the BTS Happy Hour. Thanks for listening, and remember, make every hour a happy one.